Despite what this looks like, I'm not actually here. I made this video in the past because I'm currently out filming for a future travel video. There are two consequences to this. First, this video is going to be a little on the short side, and second, some of the things that I say are going to be out of date. We live in uncertain times, and this is reflected in fuel prices, which the German government is really struggling to deal with. And this is something that everybody is angry about, and whatever the government does, somebody is going to complain. This isn't affecting only Germany, of course, but I live in Germany and the whole thing is absolutely hilarious. Every attempt so far to keep fuel prices down has resulted in fuel prices going up. Back when we had a similar crisis in 1973, the German government simply banned driving on 4 Sundays. Nobody's talking about doing anything like that now. By the way, for those of you who are used to American English, I will be talking about petrol. I cannot bring myself to call it gas. So, a little background. You may have heard that there's a little bit of trouble in the Middle East, making petrol harder to get hold of and therefore more expensive. And the last thing drivers need right now in this economic climate is more expensive petrol. Now, in its defense, I will say that we currently have a dysfunctional coalition government in charge, to the point that the Chancellor and the Vice-Chancellor are, according to reports, constantly fighting with each other. Actually, now that I say it out loud, that's not really much of a defense, is it? The two basic options are these. Either find a way to keep fuel prices down, or find a way to encourage drivers to use public transport instead. Well, the public transport system can barely cope with demand as it is, and the railways are in the early stages of a general overhaul, which means that several lines are closed. Perhaps increasing demand even more is not the best option right now. So the government carefully considered ways of easing the burden on car drivers and identified a problem that it could actually help with. And that problem was the fact that petrol stations changed their prices several times a day. That was a problem because if the price of petrol dropped a few cents, queues would form as people would want to fill their tanks before the price went up again. And what solution did the government come up with? It decreed that petrol stations could continue lowering their prices as many times as they wanted, but they were allowed only one price increase a day at midday. Nobody else thought this was a good idea. Everybody predicted exactly what would happen. Even bigger queues would start to form at around 11 o'clock as people raced to fill their tanks before the price shot through the roof, because petrol stations needed to cover themselves for the next 24 hours. The government needed a new idea because in Germany, if you anger the car lobby, you're going to lose the next election. The simplest idea would be simply to increase the allowance for commuters. This is where you can deduct from your taxable income a certain amount per kilometre you have to travel to work. As I'm recording this, that's still being debated in the Bundestag, but in any case, not every driver qualifies for it. No, what they wanted was something to reduce the price of petrol at the pump. Now, obviously, the government in a free market economy can't just dictate to private companies what they must charge their customers. But the government does tax petrol and diesel, so why not just reduce that tax? So that was done. The petroleum tax was decreased by 17 cents a litre. And so naturally, as soon as that was put into effect, petrol prices across the country fell by that amount. No, I'm kidding. They went up by 15 cents a litre. Because, and I know this is difficult to explain to politicians, just because the government saves a company money doesn't mean that the company will pass on those savings to its customers. Turns out, private companies will just charge whatever they think their customers will pay. Of course we will pass on savings, they say, but other factors may cause prices to go up. One organisation pointed out that if everybody in Germany worked from home 1 day a week, that would reduce Germany's fuel consumption by 1/5, which sounds great, but I don't understand the maths here. This can only possibly work if everybody who drives only ever drives to work and could work from home. If there is a way for plumbers, bakers, nurses and air traffic controllers to work from home, I'd like to see it. And even some people who can work from home don't necessarily want to. I have no choice in the matter. I have to work from home unless I'm making a travel video. Why do you think I'm making a travel video? Don't get me wrong, working from home is great if you don't have small children or stay-at-home spouses or, and I speak from experience here, cats. My working day is constantly being interrupted by, "Can you help me in the garden?" and "Would you consider accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Saviour?" and "Hi, I'm Dave from Microsoft. We have detected a virus on your computer." That said, the whole petrol price thing doesn't affect me at all. I famously don't drive, and I recently read an interview with the chair of Deutsche Bahn who explained why train ticket prices are not that much affected by energy prices. Of course, there may be other factors, but she didn't say anything about those. Oh, and just one more thing. If you sign up for a channel membership at level better or higher, you'll get early access to my travel videos, including the one that I'm making now. Yes, darling, I'll be right with you. Excuse me, I'm so sorry about this.